Hello, my lovely friends. Welcome back to our channel. Oh my goodness, ladies, I hardly even know where to begin today because my emotions are just spinning in 100 different directions right now. Just last month, we were all celebrating, wiping away happy tears, and cheering at our television screens because our beloved Steve Burton finally brought Jason Morgan back to General Hospital. I remember the exact moment I saw him step back onto our screens. It felt like a missing piece of my own heart had been put right back where it belongs. We have watched this man grow, fight, love, and protect his family for so many years that he genuinely feels like a part of our own households. But now, my dear friends, there is a heavy, dark cloud hanging over Port Charles, and the rumors swirling around are making my stomach tie up in knots. There is so much chatter, so much speculation, and so much real-life heartbreak happening behind the scenes that I just had to sit down and talk it all out with you. The whispers are getting louder and louder that our dear Jason might be packing his bags and leaving us all over again, and I honestly do not know if my heart can take another painful goodbye so soon after getting him back. To really understand why this is hitting me so incredibly hard, we have to look at what Jason has been through since he came back to us. This is not the invincible, untouchable hero in the black leather jacket that we used to know, the man who could handle any threat without breaking a sweat. The Jason we are seeing now is a man who has been broken down, held captive, and mercilessly tortured by the WSB for months on end. When I look into his eyes on screen, I can see the exhaustion, the deep trauma, and the lingering pain of everything he has endured in the dark. The writers have done such a beautiful, heartbreaking job of showing us a vulnerable side of Jason, a man who is merely a shadow of his former self, trying desperately to find his footing in a world that kept turning while he was locked away. It has been an absolute masterclass in acting from Steve Burton, pulling us right into Jason's unspoken agony. And just as we are getting used to this new, fragile version of our hero, the ground is shifting beneath our feet again. What absolutely shocked me to my core, and I know it shocked all of you too, was Jason's monumental, life-altering decision to walk away from the mob. We are talking about a man whose entire identity, for decades, has been wrapped up in being Sonny Corinthos' right-hand man, the enforcer, the ultimate protector of the family business. Seeing him and Sonny attempting to navigate this incredibly dangerous exit from the criminal underworld has been one of the most gripping storylines we have had in years. They are facing so many terrifying hurdles, and every single day feels like they are walking on a tightrope over a blazing fire. I have been sitting on the edge of my seat, praying that they can somehow find a peaceful way out, a way to protect the people they love without shedding any more blood. It felt like the dawn of a completely new era for Jason, a chance for him to finally breathe and live a life that is not dictated by violence, fear, and constant danger. But, my dear friends, as much as we want to get lost in the comforting fantasy of Port Charles, sometimes the harsh, painful reality of the real world comes crashing through the television screen. The reason there is so much fear about Jason leaving is not just because of a storyline, it is because of the deeply troubling and sad personal struggles that Steve Burton is going through right now. I always try to remember that behind the characters we love are real human beings with real families, real feelings, and real heartbreaks that they carry with them. Back in 2022, Steve and his ex-wife, Cherie Gustin, filed for divorce. Whenever a marriage ends, especially one that lasted for so many years, it is just a profound tragedy. It breaks my heart to think of the pain their family has gone through over the last few years. While their older children were thankfully spared from the worst of the legal battles, the situation surrounding their youngest daughter, sweet 12-year-old Brooklyn, has become an incredibly messy and painful custody war. In the beginning, it seemed like they had managed to find some common ground, which is always what you hope for in these sad situations. They had an agreement in place, a shared custody arrangement that, while probably not easy, seemed to be keeping things relatively peaceful for little Brooklyn's sake. As a mother and a grandmother, my heart always goes out to the children in these situations, because they are the innocent ones, caught in the crossfire of adult problems and adult anger. But life goes on, and Steve has since remarried, hoping to start a new, happy chapter in his life. Unfortunately, as is so often the case in these delicate family dynamics, this new marriage seems to have been the spark that ignited a terrible, destructive fire. The peace they once had is completely gone, replaced by bitter accusations and courtroom battles that are just agonizing to read about. It makes me so deeply sad to see a man who has given us so much joy struggling so profoundly in his private life. Just this past June of 2026, things took a drastic and heartbreaking turn for the worse. Steve felt compelled to take Cherie to court, filing legal documents that paint a vivid picture of a father who is desperately fighting for his right to be in his little girl's life. He accused his ex-wife of deliberately keeping Brooklyn away from him, of actively undermining his role as a father, and of violating the very court orders they had previously agreed upon. I can only imagine the utter frustration, the anger, and the helplessness he must be feeling right now. One of the most heartbreaking details to emerge was his claim that Cherie flat out refused to hand Brooklyn over to Steve's new wife when it was time for their scheduled custody exchange. Can you even imagine the tension, the awkwardness, and the heavy emotional toll that must take on a 12-year-old girl standing in the middle of all that adult anger? It is just a devastating situation, and it is tearing this family apart at the seams. But as we all know from watching soap operas for so many years, there are always two sides to every single story. And this month, Cherie struck back with her own very serious filings in family court. Reading her side of things is just as heart-wrenching and complicated. She is painting a picture of a father who is constantly on the move, flying across the country, and leaving his daughter feeling abandoned and unstable. Cherie's documents claim that Steve does not even have a stable, permanent home on the West Coast for Brooklyn to visit when he is in town. Whether that is entirely true or just the perspective of a very hurt and angry ex-wife, it highlights the immense, crushing pressure that Steve is under right now. Trying to balance a demanding, full-time job on a daily soap opera, maintaining a brand new marriage, and fighting a grueling, cross-country custody battle would be enough to completely break anyone. It makes me look at his performances on screen with a whole new level of empathy and respect, knowing the heavy burden he is carrying in his heart every time the director calls for action. When you lay all of these real-life struggles out on the table and really look at them, the rumors about him taking another hiatus or leaving the show completely stop sounding like crazy internet gossip and start sounding like a very logical, necessary step for a man who needs to save his family. How can anyone be expected to memorize pages and pages of heavy dialogue, tap into deep emotional reservoirs for the camera every single day, and then spend their weekends flying back and forth, sitting in lawyers' offices, and fighting for their child? It is exhausting just to think about it. As much as I selfishly want Jason Morgan on my screen every single afternoon, the mother in me wants Steve Burton to do whatever he absolutely needs to do to secure his relationship with his daughter. If that means stepping away from General Hospital to plant his feet firmly on the ground and create a stable, loving home for Brooklyn, then I will support that decision with all my heart, even if I have to wipe away my own tears while I do it. But oh, my friends, the thought of Port Charles without Jason again so soon is just too much to bear. It is sending the entire fan community into an absolute tailspin of anxiety. We waited so incredibly long, we hoped so hard, and we finally got our boy back where he belongs. The idea that this might just be a fleeting visit, a brief hello before another long, painful goodbye, is a very bitter pill to swallow. I find myself watching his scenes now with a lump in my throat, analyzing every single line of dialogue, every lingering glance, wondering if the writers are already laying the groundwork for his departure. There is this palpable, heavy anxiety among us fans right now, this collective holding of our breath, waiting for an announcement that we are all dreading. It feels like we are walking on eggshells, loving every single moment he is on screen, but terrified that each episode might be one step closer to his final scene. And if you really think about it, the storyline they have set up right now actually provides the perfect, seamless, and emotionally satisfying exit for him. Jason is leaving the mob. He wants a new life. He is tired of the violence, the danger, and the constant, suffocating threat hanging over his head. There are already loud whispers in the spoiler circles that Jason might make the ultimate sacrifice for his peace of mind by packing up his son, Danny, and leaving Port Charles altogether to start fresh, somewhere quiet and safe. Honestly, it makes perfect sense for his character arc right now. He has been tortured, he has lost so much precious time, and he finally realizes how fragile life truly is. Taking his boy away from the mob wars, away from the dark shadows of Sonny's world, would be the most beautiful, redemptive move Jason could make as a father. It would be a happy, peaceful ending for him, even if it means a profoundly sad ending for us devoted viewers. Just imagine the massive ripple effects that kind of departure would have on the rest of the canvas. Sonny is already struggling so much, trying to walk this incredibly dangerous path away from the criminal underworld. If Jason, his rock, his brother, his moral compass, suddenly leaves him to navigate this treacherous exit completely alone, Sonny might completely unravel. We have seen how much Sonny relies on Jason's steady hand and clear head in times of crisis. Their unbreakable bond is the very foundation of so much of this show's incredible history. To see Jason choose a peaceful life over his lifelong loyalty to Sonny's world would be a monumental shift in their dynamic. It would leave Sonny vulnerable in ways we have not seen in years, especially with absolute sharks like Valentine Cassadine and Drew Kane circling the waters, fiercely bidding for power and assets in that high-stakes Jen Sidwell auction. The timing could not be worse for Sonny, but it might be exactly what Jason needs to survive.